So we're back with the weekly videos. I know I've been gone. I'll be back like in between here and there, but for right now, it's pretty much looking like this channel is gonna be like on the side for right now. But once I do return, and if I do return to a full-time commitment to this channel, I'll be making some more videos on more NBA teams. But today we're gonna be talking about the Utah Jazz because they've been surprising everyone. Now this is a team that everyone thought that they would be tanking, but as of right now, they are 9-3. They are one of the best teams in the league. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. They've been surprising me, and today we're gonna talk about the Utah Jazz and what's in store for them in the future. So what's up? My name is JDC. If you like what you see, drop a like down below, subscribe to the channel. I'd appreciate it. And let's just get right into it. So there's a lot of things I want to talk about here. First off, the guy leading the charge, Lauri Markkanen, he's been their best player over the season. 22 points per game, 9 rebounds, and around 3 assists. Lauri Markkanen, I think he was acquired in the Donovan Mitchell trade to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, obviously, Lauri with the Cavs, he wasn't really that bad, but also I wouldn't say he was like that great either. He was more of like a mid player at best whenever I saw him play with the Cavs. But now getting his run with the Utah Jazz, I mean, he's finally breaking out. And I think we can pretty much say he's been their best player so far. So looking at his shooting splits over the season, he's averaging around 33 minutes per game, shooting the ball around 53% from the field and around 30% from three. Obviously isn't shooting the three ball too great, but looking at his past few seasons, I mean, this is definitely his lowest 3-point percentage season, so hopefully he can get that up. Looking at some other stats, I mean, he's also averaging like 2 fouls a game, which isn't too bad. The thing about Lauri Markkanen is that I don't think anyone expected him to break out this well. I think majority of the people that looked at the Jazz before the regular season, they thought that guys like Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson, these type of guys were gonna have a bigger impact. But looking at it right now, I mean, Lauri Markkanen is the guy that's impacting the team the most. So hopefully Lauri Markkanen can keep up this high level of play. I mean, he's a guy that I could definitely see him, being in the talks for the most improved player award. I mean, looking at his previous stats, I mean, he's up around 5 points per game from last season. Looking at his rebounding, he's also up around 4 rebounds from last season and around 1 assist up from last season too. So I definitely think he's going to be a throw-in for the most improved player as long as he keeps playing like this. But I'll get into that later about, the Utah Jazz and, maintaining this high level of play. So next, we got to talk about Jordan Clarkson. He's been, really great for them. Now, I'm not too sure if he's starting or if he's in the starting lineup. I believe he's in the starting lineup from, games I've watched previously. Now, looking at his regular season stats, he's averaging around 18 points per game, around 4 rebounds, and around 5 assists. He's also really breaking out here too, because looking at his previous stats from last season, I mean, he averaged 16 points. He also averaged around 4 rebounds and around 2 assists. He's up around 2 points per game from last season, around 1 rebound, and around 3 assists from last season. So Jordan Clarkson, he is definitely breaking out. I mean, not coming off the bench anymore. Hopefully, I think he's starting alongside Mike Conley, and then Colin Sexton is coming off the bench from what I believe I saw. He's also averaging around 31 minutes per game, also shooting the ball around 44% and shooting the ball at 42%. So that's really great to see from Jordan Clarkson. I don't know, man. This Jazz team is very legit. They have a lot of great guys on the team, especially. And I think with the right coaching, I think the coach is Willie Hardy, they're definitely gonna go far. I mean, they're definitely gonna go really far. The pieces on this team, they're just like pieces that I didn't really expect them to perform this well. So next, I want to talk about 2 other players. First, Jared Vanderbilt. He's been probably their most underrated player. Now he is injured right now, but I think he's been probably their best defensive player on the team. I mean, he's averaging around 9 points per game, around 8 rebounds, and around 3 assists. He's averaging around 25 minutes per game, shooting the ball around 56% from the field and around 55% from 3. Now, I think that 3-point percentage is a little bit exaggerated because I think he only takes like a couple threes per game, not even like 1 or 2. I think maybe like 1 around a game. But if it's not exaggerated, then that's really great for him because I think Jared Vanderbilt had a lot of promise in Minnesota, playing alongside Cat and D'Lo, but coming to the Jazz, he's gonna get his chance and he's taking advantage of it right now. So the thing I like about this team too is that majority of their players are really young. Looking at Lauri Markkinen, I think he's around like 23. No, he's 25 years old. Jared Vanderbilt, he's around 23. Colin Sexton, 23. They got a lot of young guys on this team, especially guys like Ochai Agbaji. I definitely butchered that name, but yeah, so they definitely have a good future right here. Also, a lot of draft picks. It's just like they built a great culture over the offseason. And it's just something that teams like, the Rockets and the Oklahoma City Thunder can definitely take note of because, with the Rockets, they don't really have an identity. With the OKC Thunder, I mean, they're decent. They got Shea, but outside of that, that's pretty much it. So, with the Utah Jazz, they have a lot of supporting pieces, a lot of guys that can prove that they have some worth on the team. So I think, guys like Jared Vanderbilt, he's going to be definitely a guy going to be staying here for the long run with his defense and overall his offensive ability and his ability to rebound. So finally, in terms of players I want to talk about is Colin Sexton. I think a lot of people had Colin Sexton being a guy that was going to average around like 20 points per game, but he's starting off pretty slow, in the season. I don't know. He's come off an injury, so I'll give him some slack there, but I think majority of the people thought he was going to be the guy on the Utah Jazz, but he's only averaging around 14 points per game, around 3 rebounds, and around 2 assists. He's come off the bench for them, but, as of late, he actually hasn't been looking too bad lately. I mean, looking at his past few games, he scored 17 against the Lakers, 22 against the Clippers, 17 against the Lakers, 19 against Dallas, and then 15 against Memphis. So he's starting to get into the groove of things, but as of right now, he definitely hasn't been, showing the promise that he would have had at the, before the regular season, basically. So I think as time goes on and as his playing time ramps up, he's definitely going to get better. But as of right now, I mean, he hasn't really shown too much promise as of yet. So looking at some other things to talk about, I mean, the Utah Jazz, their record, as I said, was 9-3. If I look at the overall standings in the NBA, I think they should be one of the top teams in the West right now. So looking at the Western Conference, yeah, they are the number 1 seed against, looking at the other teams. The Suns are the 2nd seed with 7-3, Portland at 7-3, and the Nuggets at 7-3. So the Utah Jazz, they're definitely getting it done. They're beating great teams too, because looking at their previous games, I mean, they beat Denver, they beat New Orleans, who have Zion, McCollum. I think they had Brandon Ingram at that time too. They beat Memphis twice. Looking at the other guys, or the other teams, they also beat the LA Clippers. They're beating a lot of great teams. But I think as, the season goes on, they're definitely going to slow down here. So, I guess I could probably talk about Mike Conley too, because I think he's been also a pretty important piece for this team. So we'll go into Mike Conley. Definitely, they're a veteran on their team. He's the oldest, being around 35 years old, and he's averaging around 13 points per game, around 3 rebounds, and around 8 assists. Shooting the ball around 44% from the field and around 43% from the three. So Mike Conley, he's definitely been, their floor general on their team. I think the starting 5 is like Mike Conley, I think Jordan Clarkson, maybe Jared Vanderbilt at the 3 or 4. Or maybe, I think Malik Beasley starting at the 3. I can't remember who's their starting 5, but I know Lauri Markkinen is at the 4 and then Kelly Olynyk at the 5. That's just a great starting 5, very great all around. I think the one thing that they're really lacking is defense, because Lauri and Kelly Olynyk not really known to be interior defenders, but they could pretty much fix that with Jared Vanderbilt, because he's a guy that can grab rebounds and just plays great overall on ball defense. So with that out of the way, other things I want to note that like I said before, they have a ton of picks to work with. I think I can't remember the exact number that the Utah Jazz got from the Donovan Mitchell and the Rudy Gobert trade, but I know it was a very hefty haul, and they have like one of the most amount of first round picks in the league. So if I search it up, I guess I probably could find it. I know they own a lot of picks, and with Minnesota looking pretty bad right now, they're definitely going to be pretty valuable in the future. So we'll see what happens. So from the Cleveland Cavaliers trade, they got 3 pick swaps, 2 from Cleveland in the Mitchell deal, and 1 from the Minnesota Timberwolves in the Gobert deal. In 2026, Utah will have the option of swapping first-round picks with either team, and in 2028, it will have the option of swapping with the Cavaliers. So realistically, I think the Utah Jazz and the Cavaliers trade was a really great trade, because looking at both teams right now, they're both very great. Obviously, with Utah, they wanted to tank, but, it worked out for them either way, because they're still a respectable team. Looking at the Cleveland Cavaliers, I mean, Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, they're both a great duo. Adding alongside Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen, Karis LeVert, it worked out for both teams. Now, looking at the Minnesota Timberwolves, I'm not too sure about that because I know they gave up a ton of picks to trade for Gobert, the Minnesota Timberwolves, but it worked out for Utah because they own a lot of picks. And I think with all these picks and all this draft capital, they can either capitalize it and draft some players, or they're going to be able to, turn that around and either just trade them for some good players. So I think the Utah Jazz, they need to tank. I have this in my notes. I'm going to be answering the question of if they're tanking. And the answer to that is yes. I think they are going to be tanking, but they're looking good right now. I just think that as the season goes on, I don't know if the high level of play is going to be sustainable, but we'll see. Crazier things have happened. I think, if they do keep playing at this high level, I wouldn't be too surprised, but I definitely want them tanking, because, Victor Wembanyama, Scoot Henderson, two top guys in the draft. Any team would be happy to get either of these two, especially with Victor Wembanyama with what he's proven in, I don't even know what league he's in right now, but the games that the NBA have shown, he's looking like a monster. Same thing with Scoot Henderson in the G League Ignite. I think that the Utah Jazz can use one of these guys, Victor, Scoot. It would be really, really helpful for the rebuild, especially with their draft capital. Now, do I think that the Utah Jazz are going to try tanking and, basically just lose games on purpose? Probably not. But at the same time, I mean, there's got to come to a point where they need to stop winning and start tanking. So we'll see. In terms of the future, I think the Utah Jazz, they're definitely up there. I think before the trades of the Gobert and the Donovan Mitchell trades, I think they weren't really that great of a team. They were mostly like a middle of the pack team, kind of like the Charlotte Hornets. But after that, I mean, getting all these picks, getting all these young players, I think they have a bright future ahead of them, and probably the brightest future as of right now. But you guys can let me know if you guys think that they have the brightest future. I think they do. They're probably one of the teams up there I have as probably the brightest futures in the league. So we'll see. But that's the end of the video. My name is JDC, and peace.